She's all right when you get to know her. This is my podcast, and it takes you from your restrictive, toxic, life-limiting 9 to 5 into a life on your terms, full of freedom and flexibility as a self-employed virtual assistant. So whether this is your first introduction into the possibility of becoming a VA, or perhaps you've been doing a bit of Googling already, I'm going to get rid of the overwhelm, rid of the self-doubt, and show you that this life is possible. I've not just started this rodeo, you know. I'm Catherine Gladwyn, and I've been doing what you think is impossible since 2015. Shall we get started? Now, could your retainers actually be putting you out of business as opposed to making your business more secure? Let's find out. Hoping to record this in one sitting. However, neighbour is building a trellis wall in front of his 3 sheds and also fitting a door where he took that window out, which is right by the wall where I'm sat. So this could take a while. Now, I see quite a few VAs charging prices for their retainers that could actually be putting them out of business, as opposed to making their business what they feel is more secure. And it's fine. I'm not knocking it at all. And I'll explain why I'm not knocking it. And I know exactly why you're doing it. And I can't quite remember, but I might have done it myself early on. So we charge one price for ad hoc. So for this, I'm going to say that, the average is 34 at the moment. Let's round that up. What's a pound between friends? We knock a pound off in bargain hunt, not as a VA. So £35 an hour as a VA for ad hoc work. But then some VAs are charging less per hour for their retainers. So if we're charging £35 an hour ad hoc, 10 hours of retained time should be £350. But a lot of VAs are perhaps charging £30 an hour if somebody books 10 hours with them. And I completely get why you're doing it. Because retainers, we feel, can help us know what's coming in every month. And retainers can help you manage your own time better because you went into this business to have more time so that life doesn't fit around work. It's the other way round. And if clients are on retainers, then you know what you're doing every week. You know how many hours you've got booked out. If everybody's ad hoc, they could all come to you on a Thursday afternoon wanting it all done on Friday. So, naturally, you feel like you want clients to be on retainers and you try your hardest to attract them. But retainers aren't the be-all and end-all either, and I'll cover that in a minute. But like I said, there's a lot of VAs that are making their retainer prices work out less per hour, and that might be working for you. That might be helping you to get retained clients because you're using that incentive for the client to go onto a retainer. They're going to pay less. But doing that could be catastrophic. I'm going to use probably a less scary word, but you know what? It's my podcast. I'll do what I want. Anyway, but it could be catastrophic for you and your business. And here's why. If you're an established VA, then you'll know that most clients start with their VA on ad hoc hours. The clients that go straight in on a retainer usually don't hang about. Honestly, most clients start on an ad hoc and then they move over to retainers. And I'll tell you how to do that in a minute. It's really easy. So when this time comes that your ad hoc client who's been paying, say, £35 an hour for 10 hours a month, they now want to move to a retainer, which is perhaps £10 an hour less, you're losing in that instance £100 a month. That's £1,200 a year. So you've got to work 3 hours more a month, every month, to make up that loss. So how is that retainer? Yeah, okay, so you may know what's coming in every month and it might help you manage your time, but you've now got to work 3 hours more a month. You've got to find another client that wants 3 hours a month to make up that loss. Plus you've got maybe other clients on retainers, so it's more than 3 hours a month you're making up for the loss. I don't want you working more hours, just so you know what's possibly coming in every month. Also, if a client doesn't want, this is point number 2, by the way, if a client doesn't want a set number of hours from you, like 5 hours or 10 hours, charging them less isn't going to suddenly make them want those 5 hours. They either need the block of time you're offering as a retainer or they don't. The fact you're charging less per hour isn't what makes them need those hours. You could also be putting ad hoc people off as well. Because say your blocks of retained time are 5, 10 and 15, but a client knows that they want 4 hours a month and your smallest retainer package is 5, they're not going to want to take 4 hours with you because they're going to be paying, if you're charging £5 less on the retainers, they're going to be paying £20 more than somebody that's taking 5 hours. So they'll go elsewhere where the pricing makes more sense. And you're going to be like, well, sorry, you have to have 5 hours to get a discount. And they're going to be a bit aggrieved. It's like that new customers get 10% off for a month, with like Vodafone or things like that. But existing customers know your price goes up every month. Point number 3, if a client needs 5 hours of support, they need 5 hours of support. If they don't need 5 hours, they're not going to suddenly buy extra hours just because you knocked a few quid off. They'll just see it as wasted money, no matter how much cheaper it is. Or they'll be trying to scrabble around for work for you to do, and they just feel like they're losing money every month. Yeah, and that don't last. And that is why I said confidently at the beginning that clients that start straight onto a retainer, especially if it's discounted, often don't stick around because they've just taken it because they think it's the better option, but they've not thought about it. They don't realise how efficient virtual assistants are, and they're not using the hours every month, and then they disappear. If your retainers cost less, and this is point number 4, it means that the more hours that a client wants to work with you, the more you work, but you're making less profit. So I'll say that again. If a client wants more hours from you, that means you're going to be working more, but you'll be making less profit. And a business needs profit to survive. All of your time is money. If you're not making profit, that's not a business. It's a hobby, really. You can't keep working more hours to make up lost money because you'll just end up completely burnt out and back in a situation or similar situation to how you felt when you were employed. Point number 5. You could really run the risk of putting off anyone who wants to have ad hoc hours. I think I said that a minute ago, didn't I? Because it's more money. Yeah, I said that a minute ago. So I've just absolutely duplicated that one. So this is point 5, next one. And I just mentioned this as well. But you will start to burn out because you're working more hours and you won't have that work-life balance. I went for a 2-hour massage yesterday because I don't charge less for retainers. In a nutshell, and if you've read one of my books, then this joke isn't going to be funny because I've said it before, but VAs do not do discounts. We are not DFS. And we are not selling one-off packs of unicorn-shaped fizzy Haribos in the Aldi middle aisle, are we? We are selling our time. We're making a difference to people's lives. And at time of recording, there is no way to get time back. So all you're doing, if your retainers cost less than your ad hoc, is reducing your profit. You don't need to encourage people to buy retainers by giving them a discount. They're not what makes a business sustainable. Marketing and audience building make a business sustainable. Profit makes a business sustainable. I've got to say it, but working more hours for less money just doesn't make sense. And I know why you do it. I've said that already. I think I may have done it in the beginning. I don't know. I can't remember. But I also know that one of the reasons you started this journey was for more time for you. To not think, Jesus, I got another 20, 30, 40 years of working. The more profit you're making, potentially you could retire earlier because you're building a pension. I had no pension when I started my business. Now I've put the maximum in this year and the year before. You want to be able to go on holiday and not think about, oh, it's been a lovely holiday, but now I've got to think about paying for it. You want to pay for it before you go. And then you don't want to come back from holiday thinking, oh, I've got to pay for it now, and now the bloody fridge freezer's broke. It's all right. You're making a profit. You've paid for your holiday way before you went, and you'd already bought a fridge freezer. Didn't even need one, but you bought one anyway. Got a triple American one with wheels and ice and gin on tap. But listen, right, it gets worse. Because if someone else is using 5 hours ad hoc and paying your full monthly rate, and then they see that 5 hours on retainer would have been cheaper, what are they going to think? They're going to think, hang on a minute, you've been overcharging me. I want my money back because you've been invoicing me too much because I've been consistently using 5 hours of your time ad hoc, and you didn't once say that I could have had it cheaper. What do you do then? Oh, I don't know legally what sort of position you're in then, but it causes stress, doesn't it? I don't want you to be stressed, and I don't want you in a position where you're having to give back money or you feel you have to give back money. It starts making your pricing messy, and messy pricing just creates doubt. People want to go onto a website, know how much something's going to cost, and then they can make the decision whether they need it or not. I've always said that pricing needs to be clear. You imagine if you are charging less for your retainers, so less per hour, the more hours that they retain with you, if you stop doing that and everything's just the same price, look how neat your rates page is going to look on your website. They're not going to have to scroll on their mobile. They can just see exactly what they need. To reiterate again, a business needs profit to survive, and profit isn't greedy. You see these things online. I was looking at the comments because I think it was a setup, but this latest I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here was in South Africa, and there was loads of like kicking off and everything. And my partner said, oh, you don't watch I'm a Celebrity anymore. And I said, nah, they all get on too well. They need to have like controversy or something. Lo and behold, they obviously heard me, even though it was recorded like 5 months before I said that. There's controversy. And I think it was all a setup. Where was I going with that? Oh, yeah. And then I saw comments in a newspaper saying, why is Harry Redknapp on there anyway? He's earned millions. Why is David Hay on there anyway? He was a world champion boxer or whatever he was, and he earned millions. So what? He can earn more. You don't suddenly earn like millions and then stop earning money. You improve your standard of living. You get a nicer house. You have 2-hour massages on a Tuesday. You get a cleaner. Profit is not greedy. It's not only what keeps the business going, but it's what makes life, that little bit more comfortable. Money doesn't solve everything, but it does make things a bit easier. And profit is what's covering your subscriptions when they go up. I mean, I use something called Free Pick. It's not free. In fact, it's changed its name because I guess that was misleading. Can't remember what it's changed it to now. But I pay for the subscription, but the subscription's going up like 3 times as much, I think. And if I was charging less for retainers and only making a small profit, I could no longer afford that. So it's not greedy. I'm covering the inevitable price increases that we're seeing and making sure that my profit doesn't decline. Profit pays for my accountant to do all of my accountancy stuff. I swear to God, right, I get a bill from him nearly every week. Maybe he's got cheaper retainers. But profit is what allows you to pay yourself properly as well. It allows you to reinvest in your business, in equipment, training, support, get your own VA in time, better systems. If you've got any free accounts, so if you're using just the ChatGPT free account, you'll have restrictions on it, limitations. It might be slower. It might not do certain things. But if you take out the subscription, I think I paid £16 a month for it, then it's so much quicker, it's different. And with more profit, you can start doing things like that. You can have the Pro Canva account. You can buy loads of notebooks. And profit's what allows you to replace the fridge freezer before you go on that already paid for holiday. But without profit, your business does become very fragile. It's teetering on the edge because, like I said, bills go up, subscriptions go up, council tax goes up. And you can claim a little bit of that back through your business as well, I think. Hang on, don't quote me, I've forgotten now because I'm not a sole trader anymore. I'm a limited company. But you can claim your utilities, a little bit of your utilities back anyway, and they're all bloody going up, aren't they? Mortgages are going up. Can't claim that back. You've heard of all these businesses that go into liquidation, they go into administration. I've been saying for years, WH Smith's going to be next, surely. Jesus. You're buying a fruit and nut. Would you like a stamp with that? No, why do I need a fucking stamp? I was just buying some chocolate. You're buying 3 magazines. Would you like any stamps? No. But without profit, that's when businesses run into serious trouble and you start panicking. Your marketing comes across as like a panic. Honestly, you can see it a mile off when marketing is in a panic state. So retainers, how do you incentivize them? How do you get clients to want to take out a retainer if you're not offering a discount? Because you highlight the potential to the client. You say that it secures your time, that work's turned around in less time than ad hoc clients because they've secured your time. Clients know exactly what their outgoings are as well. That is a huge thing for business owners. And they're guaranteed that the work gets done. And ad hoc clients might have to wait a week or 2, or maybe a month if you're really busy. And with ad hoc clients, you might be like, oh God, they only wanted 3 hours, but I need to have a phone call with them to get this, that, and the other from them. And you might feel inclined to, oh, do I add it to their list? But with a retained client, you're like, yeah, I am adding it to their hours because they retain that time. It's fine. I'm using that time now. But there's no need to sweeten the deal. Definitely not. If a client wants guaranteed access to your time each month, then that is valuable. If they want to reserve space in your week, that is valuable. And if they want consistency, continuity, and regular support, that's another thing. That would be really good to put on your website. Because if they're going for ad hoc, they're not guaranteed your time. So they might have to go and find another VA to help them perhaps next month because they've not retained your time. Or if you've got a team, like if you've got associates, they might have to use one of your associates, which would be great, of course, but you lose that continuity. All things that you could put on your website. I'll read them again. So if a client wants guaranteed access to your time each month, the retainer is the option. If they want you to reserve space for them in your week, the retainer is the best option. And if they want consistency, continuity, and regular support, a retainer is the best option. So I can never reach everyone, and that was a hard lesson that I've learned over the years of it being in business. Like you can't change everybody's mind, and you can't change anybody's business model unless they want to change it themselves. All I can do is just share my knowledge from being in this world for 10, nearly 11 years, I think now. I just want every VA to succeed and to have the luxuries in life from their business. But if I can convert just like a few, then I will be happy. Your time is valuable, your retainers are valuable, and your clients will know that profit matters. Because if they don't, they can't afford you anyway. So I said that most clients start with us on an ad hoc basis. And there's an easy way to turn those ad hoc clients into retainer clients. But first off, we must remember this needs to be an incentive for the client. It is behind closed doors, the incentive is for you, but we need to make it an incentive for the client and not by reducing your rate. So my trick, and it works best when a client has been working with you for like 6+ months, because they know how well you work and they trust, that trust is embedded, and they like the continuity, they like the consistency, and there's a relationship that's built up there. So this is what I do. And it's got a high success rate. Sitting in and out, I can't remember if it ever didn't work, to be honest with you. So number 1, and I think I'll put this, no, I'm not going to put it in the show notes because it will stop people listening to it, won't it? But number 1, so remember that a client needs to have worked with you ideally for 6+ months. So number 1, add up all the hours that they've used over the last 6 months or more if you want. If they've worked with you for 12 months, then add all of them at whatever you want to do. So let's say we've used 6 months. Now divide that total by the number of months you've added up. So if they've used 11 hours for 3 months and 8 hours for the other 3 months, that's 51 hours. So we divide that by 6 because we used 6 months worth of figures. And we've got an average of 9.5 hours. That's the average amount of hours that they've used every month over the last 6 months. And their invoices would have been inconsistent. Some months 11 hours, some months 8 hours, all different. So the incentive for them, if they were to move over to a retainer of 9.5 hours a month, is that they know exactly what their outgoings are going to be every month, especially now that you're getting busier. They'll not only secure your time and continue having the VIP level of service they're used to, but they'll also be able to budget better. And be sure to mention as well that they can, of course, go over the hours every month, and those hours would be billed at the end of the month. But you must also tell them that retained hours are not transferable. They cannot be refunded and they cannot be used in another month. So it's not so much giving them like an ultimatum that you must go over to a retainer. It's just making the current arrangement sound like they've been, lucky to have your time, and now you're getting busier. They need to really secure that. And also, they'll think they're getting like a discount because you've worked it out on an average, and some months they were getting 11 hours. But they're not, because if you go over the 9.5 hours, you'll be charging them for it. Job's a good one. We seem to think that having retainer clients is the be all and end all. I sometimes see people saying like, I've just got another client. It's ad hoc at the moment, but I might be able to get them on a retainer in time, or they only want 4 hours a week at the moment, but I might be able to get them onto a retainer. If somebody wants an hour a month from you, that's wonderful. We should feel grateful that we're getting clients. This gig actually does work, like I keep banging on about. So it's not actually the be all and end all to get people onto retainers. You might feel that by having all clients, or as many as possible, on retainers, that you'll be home and dry with your business. But you must consider these 3 things. That 3-month notice clause that you've got in your contract will be out the window. If the client's business goes under or it's in a major cash flow crisis, it's going to be very hard to enforce those 3 months. If they haven't got the money, they can't pay you for 3 months. So you can't enforce it unless you go through the courts, and that's going to cost you money. So it's a nice clause to have on there, and some people will adhere to it, but it don't mean nothing in a lot of circumstances. Retainer clients can cancel their contract at any time if the working relationship is no longer working. And I don't see any way you can make someone pay you if things have gone wrong, or the relationship's broken down, or you've agreed to do something you can't do and you've messed it up. You can't really go back to them and say, do you know what? You signed up for 3 months. I don't care that I'm shit. You got to pay me still. You must also ensure, whether they're retainer clients or not, that no one client takes up more than 20% of your time or your income, regardless of whether they're ad hoc or retainer. Because, I know a lot of you are going to say it with me, if you lose them, then you're up shit creek without a paddle. Where is Shit Creek? I'm going to have a look on Google Maps. If you're ready to reclaim your independence, then subscribe to this podcast, because there is so much I'm going to give you. You got to subscribe on your favourite channel, it says. What channel? I ain't going to be on the BBC, am I?